Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What happened to the harmonium? Where's the harmonium? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare A new song, very simple song. I'm sure you'll be able to follow this. Krishna, 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 Hey. 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 Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshama. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshama. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahima. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahima. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Rakshama Krishna 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 Ahima Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshama Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahima Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahima Srila Prabhupada ki jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Madhava ki jai Shri Ram Vijay ki jai, Shri Madhvacharya Abhibhav Mahotsav ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Shri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Tarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gauravakta Vrindan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Today is the appearance day of Srila Madhvacharya. It's also the day of the Ram Vijay, Ram Vijayotsava, a day when Lord Ramchandra, what did he do? Killed Rama. Yes, the celebration of the killing of Ravana. This is celebrated in many places in the Hindu culture. Some parts, not all parts, but in some parts, many parts of the Hindu culture today, they do, what do they do? Yeah, Dasara. What's that? Huh? Yeah, what is that? Speak louder.
We have like goddess Durga Puja as well as...
There's goddess Durga Puja today also. Actually, the Hindus celebrate today, some way. On our calendar, I don't know why it's set a different day. Today is the day. What else? Somebody said here and there.
We burn an effigy of Rama.
Yes. Rama. Some do. They burn the effigy of Ravana. You do that in your village, in your town? Yeah, we used to do it also. It used to be an ISKCON festival.
They do it at the manor.
They do it because of the Indian community.
They fire an arrow firework at the effigy before the fire.
Yeah, no, many places we used to do this. Here, maybe still. Maybe not now with the coronavirus lockdown, I don't know. But I remember one time in Singapore, I was visiting the temple there, and they did this, and the ISKCON almost got banned forevermore. They were already illegal, but by the Hindu community, they were completely ostracized by the Hindu community for doing this. Because many of them are followers of Ravana. Yes, Ravana Bhaktas. The whole world is following Ravana practically. Huh? The mood of Ravana. What is that mood of Ravana? What is his mood? All kinds of different statements are there. Make it simple. That's simple. You couldn't get much simpler than that, you could say. But what is his general mood? Envious of Ram. And what is, let's put it in modern day text. What does it mean? Why are we following in the footsteps of Ram? Emulating Krishna. Everyone is very certainly materialistic, very proud. And we all see that everything around us is an object of my sense gratification. Didn't Ravana think a little bit like that? Every woman, both depending what they look like, but generally speaking, the mood was there according to my senses. Everyone and everything should be enjoyed by me through my senses, isn't it? More or less. Whatever it is. It's the mood. The word in English, we have one word called ravenous. Have you heard this word? How many of you were ravenous? Here's one. Ravenous. Oh, we would be careful here. What does ravenous mean?
Lusty and greedy.
Isn't it interesting? English word, ravenous, means you almost irresistible urge for something. Doesn't just mean one who makes others cry. Irresistible urge. I'm so ravenous. I don't know if there's any relationship there between the word and the original Ravana, whom we're all trying to imitate. Huh? Everyone's trying to enjoy Sita, at least the men are. And don't worry, girls, you'll be doing it in your next lifetime. Right? Maybe not in a human life. I'm not your devotee, it's different. But people are so hung up, men, women. Well, you're in a woman's body now because you were a Ravana in your last lifetime. And round the circle goes. Everyone in the material world, Prabhupada has said clearly, is trying to imitate Krishna. Men or women, call it what you will. We're all in this mood of Ravana. Trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. Lakshmi without what? Narayan. Lakshmi without Narayan. Huh? We want the money. We pray to God, give me the money. Give me the honey. Right? And when I've got the money and the honey, please stand aside, Krishna. Thank you, God. We forget him sometimes. Everything belongs to Krishna. the whole episode of Ramayana is, sometimes we think, what is this type of religion? Bhagavad Gita spoken on a war field? The Mahabharata, non-stop battles going on almost? Ramayana, huge battle just over a woman? Over your wife? You killed millions and billions of people? What a religion is this? Sounds like Ram was pretty ravenous, huh? Just over his wife. He killed millions and billions, or had killed, arranged the killing of millions and billions of Rakshasas. Daishas, this one, that one. What is the lesson? The lesson is that everything belongs to God. Everything should be used in His service. Everything is meant for His pleasure. That's a hard one to swallow. Very hard. It's for most of us, it's okay a little bit, but what about me? Where's my quota? Where's my portion? Well, yes. Krishna has given us that little portion in this world. And if we connect with Krishna, we get a very nice portion. When we give up trying to enjoy that which belongs to Krishna. A very interesting pastime of Ramayana. And interesting also because today is the appearance day of Madhvacharya. We're in this disciplic succession of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, coming through Madhvacharya as our Sampradaya-charya, you could say in one sense, although Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers have revealed within this Sampradaya something far more than previously had been revealed, establishing, you could say, practically speaking, transcendental Sampradaya. But Madhvacharya set the scene in his teachings, how Krishna is God, how every living entity is the servant of God, how there's a difference between God and the jiva, how the means of understanding God is bhakti. Different. You could say Ramana's different statements are there of Madhvacharya which are akin, completely akin, maybe not complete in terms of their depth, their variety. But setting the scenes, Madhvacharya is also, all the acharyas appear at certain times to fulfill the will of the Lord, to wake us up, to bring us back to our original, our spiritual understanding. Step by step, talking about steps, Madhvacharya, when he was a young boy, whenever his mother had any problems, Madhvacharya in one step would be there. Leap, pum, no time. He would appear before her. Just like that. Why? How? Because he is none other than Hanuman. The great, most famous, you could say, servitor of Lord Ramchandra. He was also sometimes known as Bhim. Bhim was also tested by Hanuman one time in the forest. When Hanuman appeared like an old monkey blocking the footpath. And his tail was across the footpath. And Bhim said, "Move out of the way. You are blocking the path. Oh, I'm so old, I can't move myself anymore." Move my tail if you wish and pass by. With all of his might, Bhima could not move that tail of Hanuman, although he's of the same potency of the Lord. And nonetheless, Hanuman was displaying greater strength, manifestation of the opulence of the Lord of strength. He's also Vayu. Oh, in relationship to that, Madhvacharya, one time there was this very powerful fighter, wrestler, said he could take on 30 men and defeat them at once. So, Madhvacharya was interesting. He took a lot of interest in physical strength, not just spiritual strength. He was very strong physically, tall, big, strong. And this powerful man, they met. And so the challenge, he said, Madhvacharya put his big toe and he said, move my big toe. He wanted to challenge. He couldn't move the big toe of Madhvacharya with all of his strength. Madhvacharya would fight sometimes with tigers. Very powerful. When that famous story on the beach near Udupi of when the boat coming from Dwarka got stuck, almost got shipwrecked out in the ocean. And Madhvacharya was able to signal in such a way that the boat avoided the disaster. The captain awarded Madhvacharya with that enormous chunk of Gopi Chandan Tilak. And when he received that huge chunk, the chunk broke in half. And manifest, the deity of Balaram was inside. And Madhvacharya installed that deity on the beach. Was it Malpi? On the beach there near Udupi, one temple of Balaram is there. The rest of the tilak was taken to Udupi and was immersed in the temple tank, in the water tank, big like a lake. And when the tilak dissolved, a deity of Krishna was revealed there. The deity was so heavy that not even 10, 20, 30 men but could carry that deity, but Madhvacharya alone carried that deity. He was extremely strong. Extremely strong. He would fight with massive groups of dacoits if necessary, defeating them all. Very powerful, strong. Like Vayu, like the wind god. Very powerful. This is Bhima, Hanuman, Arjuna. This is the opulence of the Lord appearing in this manifest form of the associates of the Lord in this world. They appear to have mortal forms, but their strength is not of this world. It is the opulence of the Lord. Similarly, Madhvacharya, very powerful. Spiritually, of course, he established and defeated so many oppositions, especially from the Mayavad, the Sringeri Mat. He defeated them all very strongly in Shastric argument. He personally went several times to Badrinath, where he took shelter of Vyasadeva. It's understood that he's a disciple of Vyasadeva. Maybe that all may accept, because there's a long passing of time, it appears. These personalities, Vyasadeva is still there in the Himalayas. We cannot see. Madhvacharya was not of this world. Actually, he took sannyas in his young age. He was 11 or 12 when he took sannyas. Quite young. But he wasn't. I mean, the body may appear to be young, but he was always on this transcendental plane. So many things are there about the life of Madhvacharya and how he left this world. Actually, I'm going to read something. This is very interesting. This is, as he was leaving this world, one of his great literary contributions was his commentary on the Aitareya Upanishad. It was his favorite Upanishad. So when he finished this Aitareya Upanishad, at that time, it's said that from the heavens, he was an Udupi. His body was 80 years old. About something round about 1318 by our calendar, or something like that. And it said that flowers began raining from the sky when he finished this commentary. He decided to wind up his service in this world, and it's described how all the demigods appeared there to honor him. Unseen by human eye, but flowers were raining down and covering his body. Covering his body. To such an extent he became completely covered. And his disciples were trying to move the flowers away, but he was completely covered. And when they removed the flowers, they saw that he was no longer present in that form. At least from a conscious point of view. And then they heard this beautiful glorification from above. All glory is to you, O Vayu, O Lord who enlivens the jivas. All glory is to you who is dear to Lord Ram. All glory is to you, O most powerful Bhima Sane. Salutations to you. O Madhava, who has saved us all from the bad... Madhava refers to Madhvacharya. Who has saved us all from the bad Kali Yuga philosophies. All glorious to you. You who are adorned with 32 and more auspicious signs. It said that Mukta Purush, when these liberated souls appear in this world, at least 32 special transcendental symptoms can be witnessed in their form, signs on their hands, feet, different eyes. He had big lotus-like eyes, their ears, their necks, everywhere on their body are certain signs which indicate a liberated soul, even when they're born in this world. Right from the moment they're born, it can be seen. All glories to you, all glories to you. O Preceptor, Purna Pragya, that was another name of Madhvacharya. You have dispelled the darkness of the wicked Shastras by the presentation of Vyasadev's true rendition of Vedanta Sutra and your own parrot-like embellishment, so nectarian. All glories to you, all glories to you. Parrot-like doesn't mean like, mindless, mechanical. It means repeating the absolute truth as it is, without distortion, without one's own ambitious, proud interpretations. By repeating, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada said that his success was that he didn't change anything. He repeated what he heard from his spiritual master without any, maybe the language was different, maybe the example, but the essence was exactly the same. No change. All glories to you. You have expounded the truths about the pure personalistic forms of Lord Narayan. All glories to you. All glories to you. You have conquered the 14 worlds by your attractive, pure Vaishnava qualities. The qualities which capture people. Materially speaking, people may look at the beauty, like Ravana looked at the beautiful form of Sita and it captured his heart. People are captured by qualities. The taste of something, the sight of something, the smell of something, the touch of something, the sound of something, isn't it? We're captured by the qualities. According to our quality, different qualities manifest in others will be attractive. What is one man's, what do they say in English?
One man's
meat. Meat is another man's poison.
something else.
Yeah, there's many different statements of a similar nature. Many similar. Love is in the eye of the beholder. Many different statements are there which indicate that the actual, let's say, object itself is not necessarily the possessor of a specific quality. It's also the eye or the sense in which we relate to it, or perceive it, or hear it. We've all had that experience. I quickly come to mind when I was a child, a youth, when rock music was becoming popular after Elvis Presley. And then we probably, I don't know if you're fans of Elvis Presley or not. I thought you were, because there's something about you which made me think that you might be maybe the now we know, now we understand. Anyway, after Elvis we had a few others, and then came the 60s, the rock music of the 60s. The Beatles came on the scene and playing these. Maybe you don't have many of these LPs. You know what LP is?
Long playing.
Pardon?
Long playing.
Long playing? Okay. Long playing, not loving praying. We were playing these LPs of these rock musicians on our record players. And my mother is shouting, "Turn that rubbish off." She wants to listen to Frank Sinatra. Her senses, to her it was rubbish, to me it's ecstasy, and everything's like that. Is there a conditioning? Anyway, from above, these flowers are rained, and now these praises are coming. Qualities, Vaishnava qualities, the most attractive thing of all. Religious principles, Lord Chaitanya said, are established by the behavior of a Vaishnava. Not just by philosophy, dress, designation, by behavior, the qualities of a Vaishnava. 26 qualities of a Vaishnava are just, we have the qualities, 64 qualities of Krishna. These qualities are unlimited. Vaishnava's qualities are unlimited also because they're connected to Krishna in one sense. They're unlimited. Quantity may be less, but so every Sadhu Bhushan, they're endowed with all wonderful qualities. And that's what attracts. What attracts us? The qualities. As the quality in the material world, according to our perception, attracts us. Well, we see that maybe people don't appreciate the Vaishnava because their senses, their minds are covered. As they become purified, they start to appreciate those qualities. But even in this world, the qualities of a Vaishnava, humility and tolerance and respect for others, and so many other qualities, forgiveness, kindness, compassion, sense control, so many qualities are there which are attractive. Even people may recognize them. They're a little bit human. They're recognized. That's what attracts. And the ultimate quality of Vaishnava is their unflinching surrender to the Lord, to their spiritual master, and to Krishna. By your kindness, please always be our preceptor and protector. You have expounded the truths about the pure. O Sri Vayu, who are the Lord of the jivas and the senses, you have come to the earth for the good benefit of the virtuous people. You have given a wealth of knowledge. Now we salute you. Salutations unto you, all glories to you. You are eternally dear to Lord Ram, O Hanuman, of great devotion. Salutations again and again unto you. O most powerful, one who is so dear to Lord Yadava Krishna, O Bhimasena, salutations repeatedly unto you. O pleaser of the three worlds, bestower of sweet association to those who are in need of association. O Madhava Muni, Sri Ananda Tirtha Bhagavat Pad, victory to you, victory to you. That was compiled in the Madhva Vijay, which was compiled with one of his disciples on the life of Madhvacharya. So it's related to Ram's victory because Hanuman. Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Ram Vijay. We have a very wonderful devotee here at New Mayapur, Sri Ram Vijay. So today we can, maybe she's a special day for her, I don't know, but special day in terms of this Krishna conscious Sankirtan movement and in purifying our hearts. Purifying our hearts. On this day? Yeah. There we are.
She was dressing Radha Govinda Madhava today.
Dressing Radha Govinda Madhava? Is Radha Govinda Madhava? I didn't look close enough. Is Lord Ram carrying a bow? An arrow? Be careful if he is. We might be liberated. He shot that arrow through the heart of Ravana. I was looking for a quote, I can't remember where it is, this morning, about the chanting of the holy names. And maybe some of you know it. It's related to the bow and the arrow, and how it pierces the heart.
It's in the first
Yeah.
chapter of the Antalila.
Is it? Not in Padyavali, maybe also, I think. Anyway, whatever. It's a wonderful event. I'm tempted to read this pastime from Ramayana. It's quite exciting. It really is bringing everything back to Ram, whether it's Sita, everything. The Sankirtan movement is in the same mood that the ravenous conditioned souls are trying to claim the property of the Lord, and this Sankirtan movement is to bring them, and as Lord Ram did, he brought them all back to their proper situations, liberated. And he brought everything back. Sita, goddess of fortune, but everything back to himself, we could say. And his air business, Prabhupada also said that just like Ram had an army of monkeys, baboons and bears and like that, he also had an army of monkeys to help conquer the forces of Ravana, the Rakshasa materialistic mentality of people in general, and our own. And charity, even Sugriva became a bit off there for a while, intoxicated, captivated by the sense objects, confirmed. And we also sometimes we have been for a long, long time and still may be affected by it. So to bring us back, to conquer our hearts. As the heart is conquered, full up with material desires, that arrow of pure devotional service, that arrow of the pure holy name, that's to penetrate in our hearts. It's not enough, just the head. Ram was shooting the heads off one after the other, but no, Ravana was still popping up again, huh? Couldn't get rid of him. This ravenous mentality doesn't go away so easy. You can chant your 16 billion rounds a day, follow all 4 billion principles, cleaning your hands 5 million times a minute as you do your, Gayatri or whatever we're doing in life. Distribute 40 million books a day. Produce 4 billion tons of potatoes every season. Whatever we're doing. Manage a temple which is like 5 million acres and 4,000 temples and 5 million devotees perfectly. We're all good. It doesn't mean that the heart is conquered. And the tendency for Ravana may still be there. I did it my way. Who was that? That was another famous musicians. Huh? Who was that?
Frank Sinatra.
Frank, that's my mum, that's right. That was her favourite. I did it my way. Yeah, well, what to do about that? This mentality, I am the doer. I did it better than you did it. Well, even if you did do it better than I did it, I'm going to try to make out you didn't. Find some fault in what you did. Sure. Sometimes fault finding becomes an element of our consciousness. Or rather, we should say, sometimes it doesn't. Material desires, Ravana mentality sometimes pops up, even though we are the top book distributor in the world. And we know more verses than anyone else. And we make more people laugh than anyone else. And we have more followers than anyone else. And the women certainly like us. And I'm getting a lot of money, so it must be good. I must be doing it right. Something's going on. I don't know if that's what Lord Chaitanya said. Isn't there a verse of Lord Chaitanya? Huh? Sikshastakam, what did he say? Na dhanam na janam na sundaram kavitam vajagadisha kamaye. Maybe we say it sometimes, but do we actually apply it? Trinada peace nichena tadora peace Vishnu. Do we apply it? We read the last verse today. We have a step-by-step process. These things come up on the path of devotional service. There are trimmings on the path. We have to be careful. We don't get captivated by what belongs to Krishna. Always reminding us. And this pastime of Rama is a very prolific pastime, and many all over the world people have heard this pastime of Ramayana. To some way, or maybe not in a deep way, but on some level they've heard it. Ramayana has become quite famous. I read Ramayana before I ever heard of the Hare Krishna movement. Before I ever heard of it. Mahabharata, Ramayana, we read all these books before we ever heard of the Hare Krishna movement. It was a thing to do. We didn't know what it's all about, but it was very interesting. Very emotional too. Ramayana was very emotional. Whatever, various heroes. So I think I'll read. Anyway, it's Rama. I'll just finish off. Ram was trying to kill Ravana, but no, he was dying. It seemed like nothing could kill him. Huh? Heads were popping. And he appeared again. And similarly, unless the heart is captured, penetrated by the arrow of pure love of Krishna, this tendency to be a little Ravana keeps popping up again. Keeps popping up. You can cut it down, pops up again. We've got to get to the heart of it. Devotional service in the heart. That's why sometimes we hear the kirtaneers in our movement chant from the heart. I've often wondered exactly how do I chant from the heart. But I'm still trying to chant from here somewhere. And in the mind. But in the heart. With all one's heart. Love is in the heart, isn't it? Is that right? If you love somebody, isn't it in the heart or not? Yes. Not in the feet. I love you with all my feet. I love you with all my brain. Maybe stomach. I love you with all my stomach. Yeah, that's another one maybe. But usually we see the arrow, Cupid's arrow. Whew, chung. Then you look at the object, the arrow of Cupid comes whoom, into our hearts. Eyes start flittering. We see the love signs within the heart. Shot in the heart. It's in the heart we feel. So we've got to get into the heart. And Ravana was killed in the heart. Let's read it. Oh, it's too much to read. Correct. So Lakshman had just been apparently killed by that lance of Ravana. Powerful lance. Incredible. They had such weapons, inconceivable weapons. And decorated with bells and flowers and all sorts of things flashing. Lightning flashing off the weapons and thunder as they come. Sometimes serpents hissing on the weapons. Fire coming out. Incredible weapons. So he threw this powerful lance of destruction. And it struck Lakshman. And it appeared he was dead. But Sushena, who was like the doctor amongst the forces of Ram, said, take hope. Ram was practically finished. He was about to give up the war. His brother, his life and soul appeared to have been slain. Even though Ram had chased Ravana away with countless shafts, Ravana flew for his life. But nonetheless, Lakshman looked slain. But Sushena confirmed, no, he's still there. Bring the Sanjeevani, the herbs Hanuman had brought, and various other herbs. And with the administration of these herbs, Lakshman gradually recovered consciousness, and life came back to Ram. And the whole army of the monkeys and so on became enlivened again, back into battle. And again Ram returned to the battle against Ravana. So let's take it up. Ram seized his bow. A great anger took hold of him. The time for the arrogant demon's destruction had arrived. As Ram looked around, he saw Ravana seated aboard his golden chariot. Having rested, the demon was again rushing at Ram as the malefic planet Rahu rushes towards the sun. From where he stood, Ram immediately shot a steady stream of arrows that shone like fire. They rained down upon the demon, who in turn loosed off torrents of shafts that hissed like serpents as they flew at Ram. From the sky the gods observed the combat. Seeing Ram standing upon the ground, Indra desired to assist him. This is like the most greatest battle in history, practically. Incredible. Just envision this. Billions and billions and billions and billions of monkeys. When Ravana sent his spies to make an estimation of the extent of Ram's army, they returned to Ravana with their accounts. And I calculated it. Various Vedic terms were used, Sanskrit terms. If you put a 1 at the top of the page, say it's a normal A4 piece of paper, and you put zeros all the way down, that's how many baboons, monkeys, and bears there were. It was 11 billion to the power of 12. It means 11 billion times itself 12 times. That's quite a lot of soldiers. Or the Rakshasa army was smaller in quantity. They came from the nether regions, from all over the place. They weren't just living in a castle. He was a mystic, powerful mystic. Never has such a battle been witnessed. And this is the final stage. It's a huge account. From the sky, the gods observed the combat. Indra desired to assist him. He summoned Matali, the charioteer, and asked him to fetch his chariot. In a moment, Indra's radiant chariot appeared, drawn by its 1,000 horses or steeds. Indra ordered Matali to take it to Ram, and the charioteer at once descended onto the battlefield next to the prince. With folded palms, he respectively addressed Ram. Here is my lord Indra's chariot, O Raghava. Here also is his mighty bow and other infallible weapons, as well as his invincible golden armor. Please use all these to attain victory over Ravan, the enemy of the gods. I shall act as your charioteer. It's not that Ram needed it. It's not that Lord Chaitanya needs us. We need Lord Chaitanya. This is our opportunity to assist Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in conquering Ravan. Similarly, Indra has this opportunity to serve Ram. So there's Matali and all the horses, everyone does. Ram gazed with amazement at the wonderful vehicle. It was bedecked with glowing gems and wreaths of celestial flowers. A tall pole of cat's eyes stood in its center, bearing a brilliant golden standard. The chariot was suspended a bow length above the ground, and a crystal staircase came down to Ram's feet. He circumambulated the chariot and then climbed aboard. The prince quickly donned Indra's armor and took up his bow and celestial arrows. As he stood upon that divine chariot, he looked like the sun, illuminating all quarters. At Matali's command, the heavenly steeds surged forward, and the chariot moved off with a rumbling sound that filled the earth and sky. Ravana, realizing that Ram was being assisted by his mortal enemy Indra, became even more enraged. He fired a celestial missile which unleashed hundreds of thousands of dreadful-looking serpents, their wide open mouths vomiting fire. Writhing and hissing, they came from all sides and sped towards Ram. As the venomous snakes descended upon him, Ram at once invoked a weapon presided over by Garuda. Of course, they'd invoke these weapons by mantra. Meditation on various mantras, chanting mantras, and meditating on particular forms and mantras, these weapons would immediately appear. We also, in a sense, You could say, meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, powerful weapon smashing all of our anarthas appears. The demon roared furiously. A shower of arrows shot from Ram's bow, turning as they flew into golden eagles with fierce talons and sharply curved beaks. The mystical eagles intercepted and destroyed all of Ravana's serpents. The powerful chanting of the holy name could smash all the arising of anarthas in our hearts. The demon roared furiously. He struck Matali and all of the steeds with a forcible torrent of shafts, with glowing steel heads. The Rakshasa then sent a crescent-headed arrow which tore down the chariot's golden standard. He followed this with countless other straight flying arrows that struck Ram on every part of his body. In second, Indra's great chariot was completely covered by Ravana's arrows, so that no part of it was visible. With his 10 heads and massive bow, Ravana stood in his chariot looking like the Mainaka mountain rising from the ocean. Observing the demon overwhelming Ram with his arrows, the gods and rishis felt despondent. The monkeys became fearful. They observed grim-looking omens. The sun became dim, and the sea tossed with waves that seemed to rise up to the sky. Jackals howled, and ghosts and wraiths darted about on the battlefield. So intense was Ravana's assault that Ram was unable to lift his bow and fit his arrows. Ram's eyes turned crimson with rage. He began to think of the destruction of the entire Rakshasa race. With great expertise, Matali drove the chariot upwards and away from the hail of Ravana's arrows. It burst forth like the sun emerging from a cloud. The gods showered blessings on Ram, while the Daityas and Danavas uttered benedictions upon Ravana. When the king of the Rakshasas saw his adversary again stationed before him, he took up a fearful-looking dart. That terrific weapon had spikes, resembling mountain peaks. It had a flaming point which glowed with a brilliance that could not be looked upon. That dart was dear to Ravana and had been carefully kept and worshipped by him, reserved for a time when he faced a deadly enemy. It was irresistible to gods and demons alike. Ravana raised it with his serpent-like arm and roared with full force. The earth shook and the mountains trembled, sending their lions and elephants fleeing in fear. Looking at Ram, the Rakshasa thundered, "This dart, powerful like a thunderbolt, will now take your life. Hurled by me, it will strike both you and your brother, leveling you with all the Rakshasas you have slain. Guard yourself if you can." The demon at once threw the dart. It flashed through the air, covered by a circle of lightning and emitting a deafening scream. Ram instantly sent 100 arrows at the dart, but they were deflected and fell useless to the ground. Without losing a moment, Ram took up Indra's celestial javelin. He forcefully hurled it, and it flew like a blazing meteor straight at the dart. Struck by the divine lance, Ravana's weapon was split apart and dropped to the earth. The javelin, giving off a delightful sound from the many bells tied around it, returned to Indra's chariot. Ram immediately followed that astonishing feat by sending a fierce volley of arrows at the demon. They struck Ravana in all of his limbs and pierced his 10 heads. The demon blazed with anger and replied with an equal number of his own arrows. Ram intercepted Ravana's arrows while simultaneously continuing to strike him. The Rakshasa then released an even greater number of shafts, which penetrated Ram's defense and pierced through his armor. With blood shining on his breast, Ram looked like a great Kinshuka tree in full blossom. Neither opponent could easily see the other, so great was the number of arrows filling the air. Ram pulled clear of Ravana's attack and laughed heartily. He rebuked the demon. "You are proud of your strength, O Rakshasa, but it will not save you now. Indeed, since you stole away my consort while I was not present, you cannot be considered heroic. You are a shameless coward while I was not present. You are a shameless coward, given over to vanity alone, vaunting yourself as a hero. Had you tried taking Sita from my presence, you would not be alive today. By good fortune, I see you now on the battlefield. Oh, prepare to receive the results of your despicable and evil acts. O vile one, carnivorous birds and beasts will soon feast upon your flesh and blood." A very good battle of words going on here too. With redoubled strength, Ram then sent wave upon wave of arrows straight at Ravana. The prince felt increased enthusiasm for the fight. He invoked all the celestial missiles and they immediately appeared before him on the battlefield. In great joy, Ram fired the weapons at the demon, one after another. He recited the incantations with full concentration as he released his arrows. Notice they had to concentrate on their mantras to get the effect. Charged with the mystic power of the divine astras, the arrows tore into Ravana and sent him reeling. As he staggered about on his chariot, the Rakshasa was showered with rocks and trees by the monkeys. The demon was reduced to a sorry plight, being unable to lift his bow or do anything in defense. He sank down on the floor. At that time his charioteer took him away to protect him from the arrows of Ram. And Ravana, of course, when he regained consciousness, became furious at his charioteer, but he eventually understood and forgave him. On the battlefield, Ram was himself expressing his exhaustion from the fight. In the heavens, the great Rishi, Agastya, saw this and desired to assist Ram. Agastya had been observing the battle from the sky, along with the gods. He now descended to Ram's chariot and spoke to him. "O mighty armed Ram, please listen as I tell you the secret of a highly confidential prayer, the Aditya Hridaya. This prayer will invoke the powerful spiritual energy from the heart of the sun. This is the very effulgence of the Supreme Lord Vishnu himself. With this power, one can overcome any obstacle and destroy to the roots all one's enemies." Agastya instructed Ram how to recite the prayer, which would summon the combined power of all of the gods emanating from the bodily rays of Vishnu. With that power, Ram will be able to quickly overcome Ravana before nightfall, when the demon's own power would be doubled. The Rishi returned to the heavens and Ram turned toward the sun. After sipping water for purification, he recited the Aditya Hridaya. At once he felt extreme happiness and his mind became highly enlivened. All of his fatigue vanished and he took up his bow. He stood firmly on Indra's chariot, fixing his gaze upon Ravana, who had again appeared before him. He urged Matali forward toward the demon. In the heavens, the sun god stood in person amid the other gods and uttered benedictions upon Ram, saying, "May victory attend you." Ram saw Ravana's chariot flying toward him, filling all quarters with its thunderous rumbling. The chariot was drawn by huge black steeds with the heads of hideous fiends. It shone with a dreadful luster and was adorned all over with brilliant rubies and celestial sapphires, with rows of pennants flying from its sides. Moving rapidly through space, it looked like a cloud containing streams of shining water and issuing forth torrents in the form of arrows. Ram said to Matali, "From the way in which it is darting back into the fray, it appears that the Rakshasa is bent upon his own destruction. Close upon him with care. I shall destroy his chariot even as the wind would blow away a cloud." Grasping Indra's bow, Ram tempered his anger with patience as he awaited his opportunity to attack the demon who was maneuvering on the battlefield. Matali skillfully drove the chariot in circles and gradually closed on Ravana, the two opponents releasing streams of arrows and appearing like two proud lions intent on killing each other. Suddenly, many frightful omens appeared. Blood rained down on Ravana's chariot, while violent whirlwinds tossed it about. A flock of vultures circled over the demon. In the distance, Lanka was shrouded in a red glow. Great meteors fell from the sky, and the earth shook. The sky became darkened even while the sun shone. Terrible thunderbolts and flashes of lightning fell upon the Rakshasa army. Ravana's steeds shed hot tears and emitted sparks from their mouths. Around Ram were seen many favorable signs that portended his imminent victory. The sun illuminated him brilliantly, and a gentle breeze blew behind him. He felt his right eye and arm throb, and his mind felt joyful. As Ram and Ravana met in a fearful combat, the two armies stood motionless, with their weapons held fast in their hands. Observing the man and demon engaged in a desperate duel, all the warriors, along with the gods, Gandharvas and Rishis, watched in wonderment. The two belligerent opponents each exhibited their full prowess on the battlefield as they hurled blazing weapons at each other. Ram fitted a highly sharpened shaft to his bow, as irresistible as a thunderbolt, and shining with splendor. Drawing back his bow to full circle, he released the arrow at Ravana's standard. It shattered the tall pole, and the demon's ensign fluttered to the ground. Ravana burned with indignation. He sent a hail of flaming steel arrows at Ram's steeds. Struck by the arrows, the celestial horses neither flinched nor shook, but continued to draw the great chariot, describing various circles and movements and baffling Ravana's arrows. The demon fired a tremendous shower of maces, iron clubs, discuses, and mallets, as well as mountain peaks, trees, pikes, and double-headed axes. At the same time, he released tremendous volleys of arrows which fell towards Ram's chariot like streaks of golden lightning. By Matali's expert handling, Indra's chariot constantly foiled Ravana's weapons. The Rakshasa became more and more infuriated, and he directed his mystic missiles upon the army of monkeys. Seeing this, Ram fitted celestial weapons to his bow, which sent innumerable arrows into the sky. Those arrows fell upon Ravana's weapons and smashed them to pieces. No arrow shot by Ram failed to find its mark. The sky was completely filled with his golden plumed shafts. The missiles of the two fighters met together in hundreds and thousands. They created explosions of fire and billows of smoke across the whole battlefield. Ram and Ravana fought vehemently for hours without interruption, exchanging blow for blow. Neither felt wearied nor inclined to give an inch to the other. Those observing the fight felt their hairs standing on end. No one could take their eyes off the furious fighters as they battled on, relentlessly seeking victory. Ravana sent 20, then 60, then 100, then 1,000 arrows at Ram, aiming at his vital parts or seeking to kill the charioteer and the horses. Ram responded with twice the number, digging shafts into Ravana's steeds and charioteer, while at the same time constantly covering the demon. Even after fighting for half a day, neither seemed to have the upper hand. Ravana then composed himself and once again invoked the Rakshasa Astra, imbuing it with all of his mystic potency. Immediately the air was filled with a thick shower of every kind of weapon. The entire globe seemed to shake, and the ocean became agitated. Serpents and devils appeared screaming in the sky and emitting fire from their mouths. The sun lost its brilliance and the wind ceased to blow. In the heavens the gods themselves became fearful and cried out, "May all be well with the worlds!" With full concentration, Ram again invoked the Gandharva Astra. Notice how they were concerned about their own well-being. Invoked the Gandharva Astra, which caused hundreds of thousands of arrows to appear and counter Ravana's weapons. Those awful and demonic missiles fell to the ground and burned up, being pierced by Ram's fiery shafts. The battle between Ram and Ravana could only be compared to itself. Such a fight had never been seen at any time, even by the gods. They watched anxiously as Ram came under repeated, ferocious attacks from the Lord of the Rakshasas. Ram remained calm. He took from his quiver a great razor-headed arrow that resembled a venomous serpent. In an instant he fitted and fired the arrow at Ravana. That arrow, imbued with mystic power, divided into 10 and tore off the demons' heads, but they immediately grew again. Ram sent another weapon which again severed the Rakshasas' heads, and again they grew back. Ram struck down 100 heads, but the demon remained standing. Without slowing his attack for even a moment, Ram contemplated this wonderful phenomenon. How was this demon to be killed? No weapon seemed able to take his life. It looked like the fight might go on forever. Bibhishan quickly approached Ram. He told him that the demon had a boon from Brahma, that his heads and arms could never be destroyed. In Ravana's heart was a store of celestial nectar which renewed the life in his body. The only way to kill him was to strike at his heart with a divine weapon that could dry up the nectar. As Ram considered his next move, all the while raining arrows upon Ravana, Matali turned to Ram and spoke. "O Ram, the time for this one's death has come. Recall now the prayer which Agastya told you. Agastya also gave you an arrow when you were in the forest. Imbue that arrow with the force of the Brahmastra and kill the demon by piercing his heart." Accepting Matali's advice, Ram remembered the celestial arrow which Agastya had given him long ago in the forest. At once it appeared in his hand, and he fitted it to his bow. Its shaft was made of ether, and its weight consisted of the Mandara and Meru mountains. The wind god presided over its shaft, the fire god over its plumes, and the sun god was installed at its point. It looked like the rod of universal destruction wielded by the time spirit himself. Ram again chanted the Aditya Hridaya prayer and then invoked the infallible Brahmastra. As Ram drew back the arrow, he shone so brilliantly that no one could look at him. He released the weapon and it flew at Ravana, lighting up the earth and sky and roaring like a tumultuous ocean. It struck the demon on his chest, even as he stood firing his own weapons at Ram, piercing right through his heart. The arrow emerged from Ravana's body, soaked in blood, and entered the earth. Ravana whirled around and let out a cry which seemed to shake the entire creation. His bow dropped from his hands, and he fell from his chariot like a mountain struck down by Indra's thunderbolt. And that is the end of Ravana. There's a whole section, of course, which follows that, but we won't read it. Our time is very late. Shri Ram Vijay ki jai. Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 Sitaram Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram Jaya Sitaram. Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Jai Go Premanandit, Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Ram Vijay ki jai. Shri Madhvacharya Vibhav Mahotsav ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Merci beaucoup.
Janananda Goswami Maharaj ki
Hare Krishna, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Another one?
Oh, another one?
Oh yeah. Got one already. Yeah. No, you won't. Madhvacharya left his body being covered in flowers.